Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
The Twins came into Progressive Field on a roll, and it did not stop last night, pounding out 13 hits to make it 8 wins in their last 9 games. Tribe nemesis Torrey Hunter was the main culprit, and he's brought an air of confidence to Paul Molitor's young team. The Indians are searching right now, and they need a win any way they can get it. It's coming up next on Sports Time Ohio. It's another warm, summer-like day in downtown Cleveland as this afternoon the Indians try to even up this 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins at a game apiece. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Last night, Torrey Hunter, the old man, just keeps on rolling along for the Minnesota Twins. 21st time in his career he's collected at least 4 hits in a ballgame, and the biggest hit was when he cleared the bases with the 3-run double.
Well, he had some pretty good pitches to hit last night from Indians pitching, and I'll tell you, he didn't miss a one of them. He started off with a double. He tried to stretch this one into a double, went back smiling because he didn't even slide. You try to brush him back, the very next pitch, he hits one out of the ballpark. Torrey Hunter, a true professional. I'll tell you, what a night he had. That one drove in the 3 runs you were talking about and just opened this game wide open. And, you know, when you look at him in his career, here's a guy that's played 16 seasons. You can look at all the numbers. He's been very good offensively. He's been tremendous defensively. No matter how you slice it, this guy has been a good Major League Baseball player for a long time.
Look, it's no secret that the Twins brought him in to kind of help the young players, be a leader in the clubhouse, show them the way. But above all that, he's a consistent performer on the field. You look at 8 of the last 9 years, he's had at least 150 hits in a season. So he's not just leading by word of mouth, he's going out and doing it by example as well.
And he goes out there, when he comes out to hit extra, Matt, he comes up and he takes his 50 swings and he takes them like a young kid would. And they see how he goes about his business. He's going to be 40 years old in July. But this guy can still perform at the major league level. And when they look up to a guy like that, he has fun playing. Anytime you look at Torrey Hunter, you see him on the baseball field, he's got a smile on his face. And I think any young player should look at that and take that into effect, because he goes out, he has fun with the game, but he is also very successful and he plays hard.
Torrey Hunter will be 40 in July. Bruce Chen, well, he'll be 38 next month. He's on the hill for the Tribe here this afternoon. Can he pitch them to a win? Andre Knott has more on Bruce Chen when we come back here at Progressive Field. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. we're here at Progressive Field getting ready for the game this afternoon. Lineup cards being exchanged at home plate with the umpires. Indians making a roster move before the game in order to get Bruce Chen onto the active roster. They designated Anthony Swarzak for assignment. So Chen coming up from Columbus, where he had a pretty good run with the Clippers, will get the start against a familiar foe. Chen pitched for a number of years with Kansas City. He knows the Central Division well. And he's also had success pitching here in this ballpark. 4 career wins, 12 career games, some of that coming out of the bullpen, and a 2.87 ERA pitching here at Progressive Field.
Well, a left-hander that's going to get an opportunity. Came to spring training, didn't make the ball club, and went down there, and he said he tried to keep his team and everything, and he pitched like he was at the big league level.
Well, Rick, if anybody knows how the Indians are feeling right now, it's Bruce Chen, because, as I mentioned, all those years with Kansas City, a young team with a lot of potential, but a team that was always kind of struggling to get to where people thought they should be. That's kind of where the Indians are at right now. Let's go down to Andre Knott, who visited with Chen before today's game.
You know, Matt, you hit on it perfectly. A refreshing outlook on life in baseball is how Terry Francona mentioned it when he talked about Bruce Chen. He came into the clubhouse today, and he was in a chipper mood. He went up to every player on the team, shook their hand, high-fived them, and just wanted them to say, hey, let's enjoy playing baseball again. You're right. He's been in this situation in Kansas City where a lot of people thought they should have been better than maybe they were. And lo and behold, look at where that Kansas City Royals team is today. He wants to bring the same thing here. He's a pitcher. He's not going to overwhelm anybody by throwing the ball hard. He did it down in Columbus by going in, out, up, and down. He's going to try to do the same thing today. But most of all, just lift this team up and give them a fun spirit to enjoy the game is the main thing he's going to try to achieve today.
That's a great point you mentioned, Andre, about the way Chen pitches. When he was in Kansas City, he had a T-shirt that said, my fastball, and then the big number 83 on it, and then below it said, by you. And a lot of times, Rick, we've seen it. He doesn't throw hard, but because he lulls you to sleep, he can still throw the fastball by you.
He pitches. He has to pitch. He's never been an overpowering pitcher, at least in the last 10 years or whatever. So he's going to go out. He's going to enjoy it. He's got nothing to lose.
Well, let's see how he does here today. And this is the starting lineup that he will face from Paul Molitor's Twins, presented by Toyota. Brian Dozier and Torrey Hunter, a couple of right-handed bats at the top. Then Joe Mauer, left-handed swinger, hits third. Kurt Suzuki batting cleanup. Switch hitter Kenny Vargas and Eduardo Escobar, also a switch hitter. Eddie Rosario, Jordan Schaefer from the left side, and then Danny Santana, switch hitter, bats ninth.
And today's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is Bruce Chen. And you look at his numbers down in Columbus. He made 5 starts, 2-1, 174. You know, opponents hit just 178. But he keeps you off the barrel of the bat, at least when he's pitching a very good game. He does. Comes in making his 14th career start against the Minnesota Twins with a 5-8 record and an ERA 5.63. We'll see what he has to offer. As I said, he's got nothing to lose, so he's going to go out there and just try and give it all he has for as long as he has. Let's check out the defense brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be Brantley in left, Bourne is at center, Mawson right, Chisenhall at third, Ramirez at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, with Perez doing the catching.
Doug Eddings will call the balls and strikes. Adrian Johnson at first, crew chief Bill Miller at second, and Jim Wolf is down at third, and we're ready to go on a warm afternoon here at the ballpark. By far the warmest day of the year here at Progressive Field in terms of home games. Maybe when we were gone there was a day warmer than this, but I doubt it.
Well, no. The last couple of days, just perfect.
Bruce Chen into the wine, and today's first pitch, it's a called strike over the outside corner to Brian Dozier. Down low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dozier 1 for 5 last night with a double. Twins had a season-high 6 doubles last night.
Man, they had 4 leadoff doubles, Matt. We mentioned they came around to score every time. So they took advantage of it, and that's the way they're swinging the bats now. They're hitting .301 with runners in scoring position, 4th best in baseball.
2-1 pitch in there for a strike.
Boy, sometimes the toughest thing is to be patient and wait for a guy like this. You want to get anxious when you're a hitter and try and go out there and get that pitch before it reaches the strike zone.
Dozier fouling it back out of play.
Then you talk yourself into saying, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait and I'm going to wait. And the next thing you know, he can get it by you, throwing 83 or 84.
Torrey Hunter waiting on deck.
Nice
Struck
pitch.
him out looking with an 84-mile-an-hour fastball painted on the inside corner.
That's because you look away, it's soft, and then all of a sudden he comes, throws a hard one on the inside corner and hits the glove, makes a perfect pitch, gets the strikeout.
And a swing and a foul tip by Torrey Hunter. Chen was a late sign with the Indians. Agreed to a minor league free agent contract on February the 18th and went to Goodyear. He knew his situation going in, that it was unlikely that he'd have a chance to make the ball club. But it was also an opportunity to continue his career and keep pitching. And in this game, you just never know. You're one injury away.
Well, yeah. Josh Tomlin he went out and had an injury, and then all of a sudden you got T.J. House, who, is probably kicking himself because he should be in this rotation. No, he's on the disabled list too.
Even though he was competing with those guys, he was a great help to them. 3-1. Bang, foul, third base side. And I think that speaks to the kind of guy he is, Bruce Chen. He's a veteran. He's been around a long time. And he's willing to pass down his knowledge and help the young guys as best he can. Payoff pitch to Hunter. Hit hard. Deep left field, and that baby is gone. Boy, Torrey Hunter is absolutely locked in right now. A perfect 5 for 5 in the series, and that's his second home run.
Boy, he hasn't missed many pitches thrown at him in this series so far. It's only game 2 and his first at-bat today. But that was a fastball from Chen, and he had a number of fastballs. The home run he hit last night, I think, was a changeup. But look at that. There's a fastball he didn't get in. And he's not going to get it back either. For Hunter, that's his 5th home run. And that's the 8th home run given up by Indians pitching in the first inning.
In the first inning, yeah. Gave up 10 all of last year, first inning home runs. It's been a problem, just getting behind early. Indians at home this year have now been outscored 13-3 in the first inning.
That's before they even come into the dugout to hit. Many times they've been down.
Joe Mauer awaits the 0-2. Try to get him to chase.
It's hard to get this guy to chase. Mauer, a guy that always uses the opposite field. When we first played him in Minnesota, there were talks where they wanted him to try and pull the ball a little bit more, hit with more power. Look, he has no home runs, and he was actually doing us a favor. When he has that stroke there to try and go to left field, that's where he is at his best. But when you're paying a guy the kind of money you're paying Joe Mauer, he's not a catcher anymore. He's playing first base. They want some power. So they say, he's a good enough hitter. You can develop a 2-0-3-1 approach where you can try and turn on the baseball. But
he turned on that one on a hanging breaking ball.
Well, that was the mistake of Chen right there, and that's why he turned on it. He was conscious of going to left field, but he picked on a hanging breaking ball. So back-to-back hits for the Twins. You watch, this ball doesn't get away. It stays up, belt high, and that speeds up his bat. So that's an easy pitch for him to pull, and he wasn't trying to.
Runner at first with one out now for Kurt Suzuki. Suzuki had a good night in the series opener. He went 3 for 5 with 2 doubles. And it's inside ball 1. And a bouncer foul over toward the Tribe dugout. Bruce Chen and Mariano Rivera, the two most successful Panamanian-born pitchers of all time. You hear Bruce Chen's name and you say, wait, what? Did you say Panama? Despite his Chinese background, his grandparents came from China to Panama. That ball's blistered right back up the middle. And the Twins now 3 consecutive hits here in the first inning.
And that's for Suzuki a nice approach going right back up the middle. He had a couple of doubles yesterday as well and a single. He had 3 hits. And Chen has to do a little dance to get out of the way of that one. So 3 straight hits now by Minnesota. And they're back at it again. Almost clipped the left foot.
And up comes Kenny Vargas, the switch hitting DH. But Chen's grandparents left China to go to Panama. There was a large contingent of Chinese people that went to Panama during the building of the Panama Canal. And so a lot of people went there, and so there was a large Chinese population, and that's where his grandparents settled. So he speaks fluent Spanish. The pitch. In there for a strike to Vargas. In fact, it's kind of interesting in that, he came up with the Braves and, he pitched a lot of different places.
Right.
Then he had Tommy John surgery, and it looked like his career was sort of, it might be over. Back in 2007 and 2008, he didn't pitch at all. 2009, he lives in Arizona. He's getting ready for the World Baseball Classic to pitch for his native Panama. He calls up a guy who runs the Royals complex and says, hey, can I come over and use your field to pitch? I'm getting ready for the WBC. And by the way, I don't have a job. Hey, we'll take a look at you. Next thing you know, the Royals signed him, and the second act of his career began.
Unbelievable. Just looking for a place to work out.
Yeah. Right now, he's looking for an out. 1-1 pitch. Or a ball on the ground where maybe they could turn 2 and get out of the inning. But he's falling behind Vargas here, 2-1. That's hit hard to center. Bourne racing in. He'll make the catch. And the runners retreat. 2 down. Take a look at our Levin player profile on Bruce Chen. Originally signed by Atlanta. He was only 16 years old when he signed. They actually sent him from Panama, put him up with a host family, and he finished his high school courses there in the States and was working out with the minor league guys on the side. So he sort of accelerated his maturity in a hurry.
Well, he has bounced around now. His 11th major league team right here with Cleveland.
And out goes Roberto Perez. Now, right now, with 2 on and 2 out, switch hitting Eduardo Escobar at the plate. These are those situations where you go back to spring training and how many opportunities Roberto Perez had to work with Chen, so that's probably why you're seeing in these situations, especially with guys on base, he wants to know what do you want to go with? What's your go-to pitch? So I'm not guessing back here.
Yeah, if you just get in today to start the ball game, there's not a whole lot of time to prep and get ready. He's been around long enough. He knows. He's thrown to enough different catchers. He'll work his way through.
2 on, 2 out, 0-2 pitch. Just a bit high. Now the 1-2. Hit to third on one hop. Chisenhall stumbled, went to second, and they get the force to end the inning. But Torrey Hunter continues to hurt the Indians. A solo blast puts the Twins on top 1-0. The Indians are coming to bat. Insurance. The right-hander on the hill. Tribe's going with the left-handed bats. Jason Kipnis at the top, followed by Carlos Santana. Michael Brantley has hit an 8 straight, hitting everything in sight. Brandon Moss, Lonnie Chisenhall, Nick Swisher in the middle. Then it's Bourne, Roberto Perez, the only right-handed bat, and Jose Ramirez.
Our Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is Phil Hughes for the Minnesota Twins. In his last start, stopped his 4-game losing streak. He started the year out with 4 straight losses, had a no decision, and then beat Oakland in 6 innings. The Tribe has beaten him already this year. He left to that ball game after 6 2/3, gave up 8 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 3. You like to get to this guy early. His ERA in the first couple innings is over 7.
Kipnis with a liner to left. But a nice play by Rosario, 1 away.
And the Twins defense brought to you by Chrysler. Rosario is in left, Schaefer in center, Torrey Hunter over and right, 9-time Gold Glove winner. Escobar is at third, Santana is at short, Dozier at second, Mauer is at first, Suzuki behind the plate.
Carlos Santana, 1 for 4 last night with a double. Minnesota and Cleveland both middle of the pack defensively coming into today's game.
Yeah, Minnesota rated 7th, the Indians rated 8th.
Twins have actually committed 1 more error than the Indians have. 19-18 for the Tribe, but
Hughes has been matched up against some very good pitchers this year in his 4 losses.
Santana slugs one to deep center field. Schaefer going back onto the track and pulls it down. Here are the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Well, the Indians would love to see Bruce Chen go out and suck up a few innings, give the bullpen a little bit of a break. But already down 1-0.
That's tough to play from in front unless you come back and get 2 quick ones here.
Well, Hughes has 2 quick outs, and now Michael Brantley to the plate.
Talking about Hughes, in his 4 losses, he was matched up against David Price, Chris Sale, Felix Hernandez, and Danny Salazar.
Chop to first base. Mauer has it. He'll try to beat Brantley to the bag, and he will. On 7 pitches, the Indians go 1-2-3. 1-0 Minnesota. One nothing Minnesota as we go to the second inning. Bottom third of the Twins order coming here. Eddie Rosario will lead it off. Weak chopper towards first. Santana will just take it himself. Our window system's game time temperature. Well, we had some debate here. Sambo Shenik at 85. He was overruled, and they go with 88 degrees.
He usually is overruled. He was looking at his shoe for the thermometer in there.
If he was looking at his shoe, I'm surprised it wasn't 95. Jordan Schaefer. And he takes a strike. Schaefer 0 for 4, punched out twice last night. And a ball and a strike here. If you joined us late, solo homer by Torrey Hunter in the first, getting the Twins the early lead. Broken bat off the end. Ramirez flips it in the dirt. Santana scoops it out nicely. 2 down.
Yeah, I got a little help from his friend over at first base. It was a nice pick by Santana because Ramirez had to get rid of it in a hurry. He knows that Schaefer can run a little bit, but it was it was an easy hop for him to handle.
All right, so 2 down. Chana's retired 4 straight. And now Danny Santana. And he takes a strike. Santana 0 for 3 last night with a walk. Big bouncer to short. Ramirez fires a strike to Carlos Santana, and the inning is over on just 6 pitches for Chen. Twins on top 1-0. Brandon Moss, Lonnie Chisenhall, Nick Swisher to bat for the Tribe here in the second. Moss 0 for 4 last night. Takes a strike. Shattered bat. And from the outfield grass, Dozier will throw out Moss, 1 away. Our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. In the American League Central Division, Tigers own the top record at 16-8. Indians bringing up the rear at 6-15. Twins treading water there, 12-11. Up comes Lonnie Chisenhall. 1 for 4 with an RBI last night. Rick, the one thing that I've always noticed with Phil Hughes and the times we've seen him, and then I look at the numbers and it sort of confirms, for a right-handed pitcher, he effectively pitches in to the left-handed hitters.
That's when he has his cutter working. He's got a very good cutter, and that has been his problem earlier in the year, where, you know, he hasn't had it. It was flat. It wasn't working like it was last year, and he's got such command of it. He, set a record last year for walks and strikeouts. You know, it was about 11 strikeouts per walk.
Yeah.
I mean, he's unbelievable. He went 178 batters last year between walks. So, I mean, this guy has great control when he's on his game.
But you look at what he's done against Indians' left-handed hitters. As Swisher's going to try to bunt his way aboard, but it's foul. Brantley 3 for 15. Lonnie Chisenhall 3 for 15. Jason Kipnis 2 for 11. So I mean, there's 3 left-handed hitters that normally do pretty good against right-handed pitching, and he's been able to neutralize them.
Yes,
I think because he effectively gets inside.
Well, last night when we watched Pelfrey pitch, he pitched inside, not necessarily for strikes, but he went in there a couple of times, and he would always miss, but it made it effective against some of the hitters. He pitched 7 innings.
Now the 0-2. A little bit outside to Swisher.
That's the one he tries to nail on the outside corner after he gets you looking in. A little cutter away. He also has the breaking ball and a changeup. 16 wins last year.
Up the middle, and Swisher finds a hole. Nick's 3rd hit of the year. All 3 have been singles, and like the one last night, it's a perfect seeing eye hit.
Yeah, they had the shift on, and you can see that pitch was away, maybe a little two-seamer going down and away, and Swisher stayed on it. There's your third baseman, Escobar, over at the shortstop position, but he gets it up the middle. So first hit for the Indians coming with 2 outs.
And now Michael Bourne, the batter. Bourne had a pretty good night last night. He was 1 for 2, but he also drew 2 walks. So he reached safely 3 times. That's certainly a good sign for Bourne if he's to return to the top of the lineup. And who knows if he will. Now the 0-1. Pop back out of play. Two down, Swisher at first. Bourne in the hole, 0-2. Takes a little bit low.
Check this breaking ball out on the Nissan pitch tracker. That takes you off everything. That's that curveball coming down. That's where you want to miss with it when you have 2 strikes.
Right back to Hughes. It gets by him. And it's through into center field. Swisher will stop at second base. That's one of those ones where Hughes stuck his glove out. He thought it was going to go right in. Instead, it went right by. And now the Indians will keep the inning alive.
That one hopper. You see, he was sort of leaning back a little bit. He wasn't in a very good fielding position, and he didn't know where that ball. A lot of times when a ball's hit right back at the pitcher on one hop, they don't know how hard it's hit. They expect, it's coming a lot quicker sometimes than what it really is. So Perez has an opportunity. He's 5 for 7 in his career, his young career against Hughes.
Takes a breaking ball for a strike. Overall, 0 for his last 10. He'd love nothing more than to break out of that right here and get the Indians on the board here. He takes a little bit inside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Looks like Hughes may be showing him that fastball, and let's see if this pitch goes away. That cutter away or breaking ball away. Yeah. I think last time he faced him in Minnesota, he was 3 for 3 off him, and he hit some, and he hit a bomb off him.
Yeah.
So he's going to end up pitching him a little differently this time than he did in Minnesota.
Hughes checks Swisher, the pitch, and a slow chopper to short. Santana will throw him out. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left after 2. It's 1-0 Minnesota.
Combat Bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Third inning, Brian Dozier sends a long drive to deep left. Brantley's looking up. It's off the top of the fence. And Dozier's going to have to hurry to get the second, and he will beat the throw.
Boy, that didn't miss by much, did it? That went right off the top of the wall. Another double for Minnesota in the series. I thought he got it off the bat. Brantley went back, played it beautifully. You can see just under. the yellow line. Throw a little off line, but that's a tough play. That's a double any way you look at it.
Our T-Mobile game changer, Torrey Hunter, 35 home runs against the Indians. Only Miguel Cabrera among active players has more.
I have a feeling, Cabrera is going to add to it. He's going to be in this division for a while now that Torrey's back. 20 right here in this ballpark.
Fouled back out of play.
But did you see that swing, trying to push it the other way to right field to get him over from second to third? This is what Minnesota did so well yesterday. 4 leadoff doubles, came around to score. They have a leadoff double right now.
Brian Dozier trying to get himself to third base. Torrey Hunter trying to help him over. He's behind now, 0-2. Low and away.
That was a little teaser to try and get him to reach out there because see if he's still thinking going the other way. He didn't.
Now the 1-2. Well, and as you always said, you may want to still execute, but when you get to 2 strikes, you've just got to put the ball in play.
You put it in play, right. Yeah, I mean, you want to do it and get it done, so you try your best, but you don't try and push it that way like you do earlier in the count.
Smoked foul on the third base side.
Because you make a mistake in there and he can get hurt. Minnesota, man, they've been swinging the bats out of their 17 hits so far in the series. 9 have been extra base hits.
Well, we mentioned it before. They are a confident team. And they're a loose team because they have no expectations. At least, nobody expected them to be playing even this well this early in the season.
Well, it's all going to come down. You're not going to continue to hit like this, for a long period of time. So it's going to come down to their pitching. Their bullpen has been pitching well. They're playing all around good baseball. They're going through a spurt right now where everything's clicking for them. And when you're a team, it's a lot of fun.
You ride
to play
the wave.
like that. You sure do. Everything is working.
Now the 2-2.
Look at that.
And he gets the runner over to third with a base hit in the right field. Dozier coming around third, going to get the stop sign.
That is just a great piece of hitting by Hunter. He went over there the first 2 times and tried to shoot it that way. He ripped a couple foul after Chen went inside on him. He got a pitch he could handle and just went to right field. This is just a great job by Hunter. So now he gets him over, but now also first and third and nobody out.
So Hunter stays locked in, 6 for 6 against Indians pitching in the series. And Joe Mauer, who had a base hit his first time up, will be the batter. Mauer got a hanging curve and smacked it into right field in the first inning. Infield double play depth and a swing and a foul tip. Hunter has 1 steal. He's been caught a couple of times.
He's not going anywhere now. You leave that hole for Mauer.
Late afternoon sun breaking through the clouds. Outside, he missed a one, even the count at 1-1. Swung out and missed. Chen teased him with that slow off-speed pitch away. And then Mauer couldn't help himself, so he falls behind a ball and 2 strikes. Indians outfield is shading Mauer the other way toward left.
I think that's the right way.
Mm-hmm. Chen goes inside on him and strikes him out. Second strikeout for the Indians left-hander. One down here in the inning. Does he? Let's see if he hits his target.
Well, that's our Circle K.
Yeah,
actually
sure
was right there. I mean, it was not a bad pitch to hit, but he swings through 3 of them off of Chen. But that's a big out. Now you have an opportunity to get a double play and get out of the inning.
Suzuki sent a single right back up the middle in the first inning. Kipnis shades him towards second base. And Suzuki takes a strike. Well, Chen's thrown a lot of strikes. Overall, 34 out of 48 pitches have been strikes. So he's been able to get ahead, and then he does what he does best. He tries to get you to swing at his pitch, and then eventually he'll come back.
Well, you go back to that second inning. What do you have, a 6-pitch inning?
Yeah.
But you get guys on base, and he doesn't give in. He's still trying to get you to hit his pitch.
The 1-1 popped him up and out of play.
It almost looked like Hunter was off and running there. If they were trying to create a hole there, it didn't work.
Well, Kipnis isn't too far from second base, so he doesn't have to go far to cover. Hunter back easily. We're in the third. Twins on top 1-0. 1-2 pitch. Another toss to first to keep Hunter close. Popped out of play.
You got him to go after that 73, a little break a ball away, but he stayed on it enough just to get a piece of it to stay alive.
It's a tough matchup, I would imagine, for certain hitters because baseball is a game of gear up, aggressive, and then all of a sudden now you've got to be patient.
You have to wait.
Swung out and missed. He strikes him out, 2 down.
Well, that's what happens. You want to hit that or drive in that run so badly that, you end up chasing a pitch. This one, I don't think he could have hit with an ironing board. Look at way out of the strike zone. He swings at it, and that's just one you normally would want to spit on with a man on third, but
his patience wore out.
It sure does. And, give Chen credit. He doesn't give in.
Well, here's Kenny Vargas, who flied to center his first time up. And it just reared back. How about that one up to 87 miles an hour? And Vargas could not catch up. But again, it was also well located, not right down the heart of the plate. That one was a little bit up. I'm surprised he was able to hold up. Looked like he wanted to get after it.
Tried to go right back with the same pitch. Vargas did want to get after it, but he didn't go.
Tantalizing and close, but doesn't get the call, and it's 2-1. Line to left, a base hit, and a 2-out RBI single puts the Twins up 2-0. Vargas with his 10th RBI on the season.
Yeah, he left that changeup upstairs enough to where Vargas could reach it. And he gets it and hits it into left field. You can see up in the zone. And Minnesota continues to hit with runners in scoring position and 2 outs.
Well, Vargas had 2 hits in the ball game last night. One of them was an RBI single.
So that leadoff double comes around to score.
Eduardo Escobar with 2 on and 2 out. And now it's quickly 0-2.
Minnesota yesterday scored in the first 5 out of the 6 innings played, and here they are. They've scored in 2 out of the first 3. Nice stop.
Diving stop, but no play anywhere. He's trying to come home with it. And Hunter able to score on the play. Looked like Ramirez wanted to go to second first, and then had the presence of mind to try from the seat of his pants to throw all the way home.
Well, that's what you try to do as an infielder. Just knock it down, keep it around so that guy can't score. But with 2 outs, they're off and running. And Hunter's been around too long. He knows he's going to try and score as soon as that ball's hit. You know, he gets on it. You're right. He thought second base. It wasn't going to get an out there, but it's tough to make that throw from the seat of your pants. So basically an infield single ends up scoring the second run, and they have 4 hits in the inning, with Chen having an opportunity to get out of that inning after the 2 strikeouts.
And now Eddie Rosario takes a strike. Well, the shame of it is you work hard to get ahead of hitters, like he had Escobar down on the count there. But he doesn't get the out. And the inning continues as Minnesota has built a 3-0 advantage here in the 3rd. And another base hit in the left field. Coming around third is Vargas. He's going to be waved home. Brantley's throw is cut off. And they've got Escobar on a rundown. And that'll end the inning. But the run scores in Minnesota with a 5-hit third. Score 3 and lead it 4-0.
forward to Miller time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Twins getting 3 in the top half of the third, make it a 4-0 ball game already with 8 base hits.
Well, Jose Ramirez 0 for 3 last night, leading off this bottom of the third for the Tribe, trying to get something started. They had 2 hits in the second, but they came with 2 outs. That's foul up the first baseline. And he strikes him out. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt. Rick, earlier today, the Royals and the Tigers in Detroit. Alcides Escobar, first pitch of the game. It's gone to left field. A solo home run. Royals would continue to build, and they'd win it 6-2 today over the Tigers. Anibal Sanchez takes the loss, Matt.
All right, thanks a lot. Jason Kipnis looks at a ball up high. One-on-one the count for Kipnis. Yeah, the Royals jumped on Anibal Sanchez right out of the gate and just didn't let up today.
Well, he has been a problem for him in the past, so you get those good guys early. Jump on them early and continue. And, you know, Kansas City has that kind of offense. They can do it. They can do it to you quickly.
There's a ball down the left field line. That's going to slice into the seats.
See in Chicago today, Cincinnati and the White Sox playing a straight doubleheader.
Yeah, we commented on that last night. The White Sox have been a victim of, well, circumstance in Baltimore, which was beyond their control. And then they got bad weather on top of that. So they have quite a few games that they're going to have to make up at some point this year, starting with today after getting rained out last night against Cincinnati, a team that doesn't come back.
Right.
Big bouncer to second. Dozier backpedaled to the grass and throws him out. Let's go down to Andre now. Andre, we mentioned it when we were at Target Field. Carlos Santana has had success against the Twins, particularly in Minnesota. What are they doing to keep him at bay this year?
You know, it's funny. His 100th home run, if you remember our last game at Target Field, and he talked about how they pitched him backwards in Minnesota. You know, when he was looking for fastballs, they were throwing sliders and curveballs. And they've done that for the most part these first 2 games here in Cleveland. It's funny because Carlos thought he had a peg on how Minnesota liked pitching. And as we see right there, the first pitch, they go off speed early. So the mental game is what Carlos is working on against these Twins pitchers right now.
Well, he hit a ball pretty good in his first at-bat to the base of the wall in center field. And, you know, you have to make adjustments because it's funny, you know, teams will pitch you the same way. And pitcher after pitcher will pitch you the same way until you make an adjustment there and you prove that you change.
2 for 16 on the year for Santana against Minnesota.
He went soft to get strike 1, then 2 fastballs. Now you think you're sitting in a fastball count. He should come back with something off speed if he's pitching him backwards. There's a fastball away.
So, go figure.
Yeah. Get back to the old see ball, hit ball. Unless you certainly have a track record with a certain pitcher.
There's a breaking ball. Well, he went for the outside corner.
Cutter. 2's the curveball, 3's his cutter, and he's trying to hit the outside corner. Started off the plate and let it come in a little bit. It just never really came back in. It went down a little and never cut.
Payoff pitch. And Santana sends one sky high to shallow center. Jordan Schaefer makes the catch. Indians go 1-2-3. And the Twins lead it 4-0. And the Indians so far have managed just two out singles in the game. Bruce Chen back to work here in the fourth. Jordan Schaefer leading off. Grounded out his first time up. Tribe gets bullpen action going now. Ryan Webb getting loose. Chen with a curveball in for a strike. And he's ahead 1-2. And a foul by Schaefer, 1-2 to count. Little bouncer up the middle. Nice play by Ramirez, and they got him. Oh, outstanding effort by Jose Ramirez, who went all the way up the middle on a ball that wasn't hit hard because it was hit off his knuckles.
Yeah, I mean, watch it. He gets to the hop, and he realizes, I got to get rid of it quickly. He did everything in his power just to get him at first base. And really, that's a nice play. I thought it was going to be a base hit, but he took that one last short step to hit the base, and they got him by an eyelash.
Danny Santana will stride to the box. Took his time getting there in case Paul Molitor wanted to challenge it.
That's all part of the game now, where you got to, anything close, no matter if you're in the field or you're hitting, you got to really, you're right, take some time on something like that, a bang play. It's like the National League when the pitcher's hitting. That first guy or your pitcher makes an out and you're the leadoff hitter. You let him get back to the dugout. You take your time. You walk slowly. Let him catch his breath.
Out of play. Chen into the one on the 1-2 pitch. Outside, he misses. Way outside. Full count. It's going to find its way into the seats. And a fly ball to right field. Back goes Brandon Moss. 2 down. Our injury report brought to you by the injury attorneys at Elk & Elk. George Springer on the DL with a concussion for Houston. Jason Vargas down for the Kansas City Royals. Boy, the Tampa Bay Rays, they've got some problems. Alex Cobb decided he's going to have the Tommy John surgery, so he's done for the year. Drew Smiley's on the DL. And Jake Odorizzi, he's got some issues as well. So he's got the flu. So Tampa Bay's getting pitching thin. 1, 2, 3 go the Twins. Michael Brantley continues to stay locked in at the dish. His home run in the 8th inning, extending his hitting streak to 8 games.
Line drive.
He's gone 12 for 31 during his hit streak. 0 for 1 today. There's a high drive. Right field.
Cutter just got in on the trademark a little bit.
1 away. Brandon Moss grounded out his first time up, takes a strike. Hit him on the elbow, I think, or no, I guess it got the bat.
Yeah, it did. He turned sideways, and it just, and I mean, barely did he turn, but it's just enough to get a piece of the bat. Watch this.
Yeah. Hughes 0-2 pitch, way outside.
This is Hughes' 9th career start against the Indians. 4-2 in his career.
To first, a little stumble by Maurer, but Hughes beats Moss to the bag, 2 down.
Well, enjoy the new family deck and expanded kids clubhouse at Kids Fun Day tomorrow at the ballpark. You can run the bases after the ball game. Just go to Indians.com.
Lonnie Chisenhall popped up on the infield his first time up.
Well, there you go with Chisenhall. They do this with Moss. A couple of guys where you get to one strike and they bring that third baseman over to the second base side of the bag and leave the shortstop at his position.
Broke his bat, and out goes Dozier. And the Indians go quickly. That is 7 in a row retired by Hughes. He only needed 7 pitches to set him down 1-2-3 here in the 4th. Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. Minnesota leading at 4-0. Torrey Hunter 2 for 2 on the day. He homered in the first. He singled and scored in the third. One and one to count. Broke his bat. Chisenhall sets and throws, and he pulled Santana off the bag. So Hunter is aboard. to start the 5th inning for Minnesota.
Well, Hunter, another base hit. He was 4 for 4 yesterday. He's now 3 for 3 today. Chisenhall ranging far to his left. And as he tried to stop and plant, he was still on the move, and the throw very far off the back. Santana did a good job just to get it. Not a bad series already, huh?
Joe Mauer singled in the first, struck out in the third.
He came into this series hitting .252. He's at 348 points. He's raised his average in this series.
I like the note that Mike Proctor showed me earlier. Torrey Hunter is the second oldest Twin to have 4 hits and 4 RBIs in a game. The oldest Twin to do it was Paul Molitor, who beat him by a year.
Okay.
Almost a year. Just a little less, I think, than a full. There you go, right there. Molitor was 40. And
well, I'll tell you what, Molitor had good bat speed still at that age, and Torrey Hunter does as well.
yeah.
That's the thing, you know, when you get up into your 30s and, you know, you see guys cheating to try and get started to catch up with the fastballs. And, boy, oh, boy, you know, these guys, they don't cheat. I thought a couple years ago Torrey did, but I'll tell you, he's worked harder and harder, and he still has great bat speed. Now, Paul Molitor, on the other hand, is about as quick as you could get.
Three-one pitch to Mauer. Bat speed is God-given, right? I mean, you can't teach bat speed.
No, I mean, no.
But you can certainly work to improve it. My question to you is, what did the years Torrey Hunter spent in Detroit, surrounded by Miguel Cabrera and some of those guys, maybe do to help him as a hitter?
I don't know. Maybe it taught him, you know, you can always learn. Hitting, doesn't matter how old you are, you can still learn more.
This sends Brantley all the way to the wall. Can't get high enough to make the catch. Hunter's coming into third. He'll be held there. It'll be a double high off the wall for Joe Mauer.
You know, Hunter did a really good job. He was around second base. He wasn't going to worry about if he catches it because I know I'll have time to get back. And Michael went all the way back to the wall. Bourne did a nice job to come over and back up. But with Bourne's hustle, you can see him slice that ball, and it carried. Brantley goes back. It's out of his reach. Bourne comes over, and then Hunter was around second base already. So he was thinking to score, but he couldn't do it. See? He's at second, and there he goes. It's exactly what you have to do on a play like that. It was nobody out. If he catches it, you go back to first. So now second and third, and they're trying to open this one up.
Looks like Mark Zipchinski is now getting loose in the Tribe bullpen. Chen about to make his 85th pitch of the day. And the Twins have wrapped out 10 hits. And they're going to intentionally walk Suzuki to load the bases. With nobody out here in this 5th inning. You know, sometimes you get a hot hitting team like the Twins are, and a guy like Bruce Chen is the perfect antidote because he throws below hitting speed and he can frustrate you. But boy, they're so hot right now that nothing he's done has bothered them at all.
Oh, and out comes Tito.
So he's going to make his move right here with the bases loaded. And nobody out, and the Tribe already down 4-0. The Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen will be for Mark Zipchinski. As Terry goes from one left-hander to another. Bruce Chen's Indians debut, 4 innings plus 4 runs on 10 hits. He's responsible for the 3 on base. Our AT versus Rewind.
Well, who else besides Torrey Hunter in this series? The Indians have yet to get him out. 4 for 4 last night, 3 for 3 today. He walked once, and he's hit everything in sight.
Kenny Vargas will come up here with the bases loaded and nobody out. And Mark Zipchinski try to put out the fire and keep the Indians in it.
For Zipchinski, the 15th time he is appearing. 7 2/3 innings, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. And actually, the Indians could use a double play ball right here. It'd be nice if it was a 1-2-3 double play, too.
Now 2-0. Outside, he missed 3 balls, no strikes.
Well, now, pretty good situation if you're Vargas. Kenny Vargas is 3-0. You could sit and keyhole him here. Probably take one because he hasn't thrown a strike. And then the 3-1 pitch, you got a chance of getting the same thing.
Infield back, double play depth. Santana even with the bag at third. 3-1 pitch. Slowly chopped up the middle. Kipnis will step on second, throw to first, double play. Run scores, 5-0 Twins.
Well, that's exactly what they needed. They will score another run, but they get 2 outs. And if you can come out of this inning just allowing 1 run, that would be a really good job by Zipchinski.
Well, the batter will be Eduardo Escobar. He drove in a run with a base hit his last time up. Chased one in the dirt, and it's 0-2.
What was the first sign?
And a base hit in the left field. Another run comes home. Mauer scores. Eduardo Escobar, for the second time today, I believe, on an 0-2 pitch, he gets an RBI single.
You're right. That was an 0-2 pitch there. He reaches out and pulls it in the hole, and they make it a 6-0 game. It wasn't a bad pitch down and away. He was able to reach it, though, and finds the hole between short and third. Obviously, he had to be looking out there. When hitters hit pitches like that, and there's 2 strikes, you got to go inside and get some respect and back them off the plate. I'm not so sure that the Indians are pitching enough inside. When hitters can hit good pitches like that away with 2 strikes, you gotta use the whole plate. Minnesota, Tommy just told me they have 6 hits down in the count 0-2 today.
6 altogether?
Yeah, 6 hits on 0-2 counts. Now that used to be a cardinal sin. You know, when you give up a hit 0-2. You know, your managers back then and there in Kangaroo Court, you'd get fined. So there's 6 times 0-2 base hits.
Look, this is meant as no disrespect to Bruce Chen. He's been a big league pitcher a long time, but I'm thinking if you're a hitter and you know his fastball tops out 85, you're down 0-2. You're not exactly uncomfortable, though.
Well, that's true, but you still have to get some respect on the inside part of the plate. Again, if the players can cut it in half, they make it that much better and that much easier for them to dig in there. They're comfortable. Not saying you have to hit them.
Another 0-2 base hit. Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. They had 5 hits back in the 3rd inning. They have 4 now. And again, they had a chance, that double play ball to get him out of the inning. He goes down, hits it the other way.
That ball might not even have been a strike. He went down and golfed it.
I don't know. Can a team be that hot where they hit everything you throw?
13 hits last night for Minnesota. They already have a dozen here today. 4 hits in the inning. They had 5 hits in the 3rd. So 9 of their 12 hits have come in 2 innings today. Jordan Schaefer has grounded out twice today. And here we go again. He's down on the count 0-2. Strikes him out. The inning is over. Twins get 2 more, and they lead it 6-0. Brought the whole gang from New Albany. How about that? 9U club ranked number 1 in the state.
They're sitting at the ballpark enjoying it, aren't they? They're having a good day. They've got their gloves looking for a
Nice
foul
job.
ball.
Well done, guys.
There, they see themselves on TV. Go. Oh, that's great. Trying to see where they're located.
That was 2. Oh, there they are right down below. Next to the scoreboard room.
I got you.
Well, Nick Swisher going to try to get the Indians offense up off the canvas here in the 5th inning. 6-0, Twins lead it. And he bloops one toward center field. That's going to fall. And the Indians get their leadoff man aboard for the first time today, and Swisher is 2 for 2.
Well, this ball gets inside a little bit, but he fights it off, goes right back up the middle. Both of his hits have come up the middle of the field.
Michael Bourne singled his first time up. And a chopper to Mauer. He'll go to second. There's one. Back to first. Not in time.
Mauer threw a changeup to second base. Unless he was waiting for somebody. That ball is a double play ball. When you watch him get rid of it, if you cut it loose and get back to the base, I thought they had a chance for a double play, and Bourne beats it out. It's a one-hop smash. He gets it in plenty of time, and there it is. It's like a little changeup. You see Santana had to wait for it. Santana's got a good arm at short.
One on, one out for Roberto Perez. Trying to hold up. Let's see. They appeal. He went 0-2. Now the 0-2. And he locked him up with a breaking ball. Phil Hughes, just his second strikeout today. But, man, has he been some kind of efficient. He's only made 53 pitches.
Well, they're getting after it early, because he's around the plate. He doesn't walk anybody. Come on out and catch a game at the new two-story bar with our $13 district ticket. That's presented by Sports Time Ohio, and it's the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Visit Indians.com.
Jose Ramirez called out on strikes in the third inning. Now the 1-1. A little bit low. And Phil Hughes with a long look in to the home plate umpire, Doug Eddings. Now foul back. 2-2. Jose Ramirez hitting 175. Roberto Perez, who just struck out, batting a $176. And Ramirez goes down swinging to end the inning. 5 complete. It's the Twins 6 and the Indians nothing. place July 17th through the 19th. There will be 6 different routes that start and finish in downtown Cleveland, including 1- and 2-day rides. Every dollar raised by Velasano participants benefits cancer research at Cleveland Clinic. You can get involved by visiting velasano.org. Third Indians pitcher today will be Ryan Webb, already making his 5th appearance since joining the Tribe. He's got the number 9 hitter to lead off Danny Santana, then top of the order. Webb signed with the Indians on April 13th. Pitched in 5 games for Columbus and then got called up on April 29th.
Yeah, Santana, and then back up to the top of the lineup. Dozier it'll be the 4th time in just 6 innings.
On the ground to the second baseman, Kipnis. And he'll throw out Santana, 1 away.
Well, KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. And kids tickets are located in the new family deck out here at the ballpark. You can log on to Indians.com/kids tickets today.
Brian Dozier 1 for 3. He doubled and scored back in the 3rd. Minnesota got a run on the 1st on a homer by Torrey Hunter. They added 3 in the 3rd when they collected 5 hits, 2 in the 5th, and now Brian Dozier has gone deep in the 6th, his 3rd home run of the year. And the Twins extend their lead to 7-0. Minnesota laying it on the Tribe pretty good for the 2nd day in a row.
Well, if you remember back in the 3rd inning, he just missed a home run by about a foot right under the yellow line. It went as a double. He didn't miss this one. That looked like a little slider right there, and it stayed right into his wheelhouse. So, again, now, Minnesota has scored 4 out of the 6 innings. Yesterday, they scored 5 out of the first 6. But, boy, there's no stopping them. They're about as hot as you can get.
Here's that guy again. Torrey Hunter, 7 for 7 in the series. He went around, says home plate umpire Doug Eddings. And it's 0-2. And the 2-strike pitch. Outside. Oh, and away. 2-2. And now Nick Hagedorn getting loose for Cleveland. Now the 2-2 from Webb. Chopped to short. Ramirez, a tricky hop, and it went through the wickets. And Hunter is aboard again.
Well, that ball stayed down. I don't know if it caught the lip of the grass, but by the time Ramirez could get his glove down to it, he just booted the ball. It'll go as an error. See it stay down. And he just off the heel of the glove.
Here's Joe Mauer. He's 2 for 3. A single, a double, and a run scored. And a strike is called. No balls, 2 strikes. Torrey Hunter reaching on the air. And Mauer with a ground ball up the middle. Steps on second, throws to first. Ramirez executes a double play, and the inning is over. But another run crosses the dish for the Twins. They lead it 7-0. Seven to nothing. Twins lead it as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Top of the order for Cleveland. It will be Jason Kipnis, Carlos Santana, and Michael Brantley. Kipnis 0 for 2. 1 out of 6 in the series. And Hughes with a fastball strike.
He's been pounding the strike zone. I'll tell you what, out of this will be pitch number 60 coming up, but 41 of his 59 pitches to this point have been strikes.
And a line drive single into center field. And for the second straight inning, the Tribe gets their leadoff man aboard. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. See Torrey Hunter. Home run on the first. Got the Twins off to the early lead, and then they piled on 3 more in the 3rd, 2 more in the 5th, another run in the 6th. Carlos Santana 0 for 2. Both times he's hit the ball to center. One deep to center, the other one a routine pop-up.
Yeah, Hughes today, out of his 9 outs, he has 3 pitches or less.
Yeah, he set the Indians down in order 3 different times in the first 5 innings today.
Well, I'll tell you what, they were talking about off-speed pitches to Santana, and the last 2 times Hughes has just gone right at him with fastballs. He hasn't messed around. He may have started him off with that breaking ball the last time up, but it's been fastball after that. It's been all fastballs in this at-bat.
Ball outside, 1-2.
This is the first start for Hughes in this ballpark since July 6th in 2011. And then the only other time before that, August 10th, 2007.
We had him out in front, but he got a piece of it, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Well, so far this year, and granted, it's only 13 games of information, but the 6th inning has been the Indians' most productive inning as an offense. One could draw the conclusion that that's where the starter begins to tire, and maybe they've been able to cash in because of that. I know one thing, they can't wait till the 6th inning to start scoring, though, and that's. Now, you can put this one on the pitching today because they haven't been able to hold Minnesota down, but offensively, they've got to start generating more scoring chances early in games. Dozier had a kick off of his chest, and he still gets Santana at first.
Yeah, if he catches it cleanly, possible double play, but that ball was hit very hard. He stayed in front of it, stayed with it, and got the out at first base.
Arcia in the driver's seat. Take a look at Michael Brantley so far this year. He's been Mr. Consistent once again. 3 homers, 9 walks, only 6 swings and misses. That's incredible.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Down low. Michael started the day 8th in the American League in batting average. 9th in on-base percentage. And now he's got a base hit in the left field. Coming around third, Kipnis will try to score, and he will. Brantley will go down to second base when the ball got away from Suzuki. The Indians are on the board. It's now 7-1. Brantley with his 16th run batted in on the year.
Well, that I think was on Suzuki. You know, for Brantley, again, just another base hit with a runner in scoring position. So he goes up to over about 440 or higher. It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. And watch the throw come in. I mean, Escobar got a piece of it, and it sort of tricked Suzuki with the catcher's gear. And I don't know who they're going to give the error to. Give it to the left fielder.
Yeah, it's a bad throw. Brantley tied for 5th in the league with runners in scoring position as he drives home Kipnis to get the Indians on the board. Now Brandon Moss 0 for 2 today, 0 for 6 thus far in the series. Blooped toward left. Escobar won't get it. It drops. Coming around third. Brantley's going to try to score. Here's the throw to the plate, and he is out.
Well,
Rosario made a perfect throw, and Brantley, he didn't get a real good break on it
he
to
slowed
begin
down
with.
Around third base. He wasn't sure he wanted to go. I think that was an easy one to read with Moss because they play him, way over. So if you're going to go. Watch him. He slows down right here. Stop, and then he turns it on because look like Sarbaugh says go ahead, but he's thrown out by plenty.
Third hit in the inning.
See, to me, that he had to read that maybe a little better earlier, because you got to know where the fielders are playing. And for Moss, they're not playing that way.
Lonnie Chisenhall 0 for 2. Foul up the first base side.
There's our ball boy the other night that grabbed a ball in play. Remember that for the ground rule double?
Whoopsie.
There he is.
Moss at first, held by Mauer. Chisenhall takes a little bit outside. Indians finally getting to Hughes for a run here in the 6th, but another run potentially cut down at home plate. Two and two. Shoots it foul out of play to the left. Now the 2-2. And a high pop, shallow left. In comes Rosario. And he makes the catch. Indians get a run after 6, 7-1 Minnesota. Is brought to you by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT CLE Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable.
Well, download MLB's free ballpark app to unlock special offers, including merchandise discounts. The app also lets fans purchase tickets, transfer tickets to friends, and more. Just visit Indians.com/ballpark app. Nick Hagedorn in for the 15th time. He appeared last night Only pitched a third of an inning, gave up 1 hit and 3 runs. There was an error made. He walked one and struck one out.
Kurt Suzuki with a hit. Strikeout. He was intentionally walked his last time up. One ball and 1 strike. Now the 1-1. That's hit well toward right center field. And Michael Bourne with a nice diving catch. He had a stretch out at the end. Hangs on for out number 1.
That ball looked like it was going away from Bourne on his run, and he gets there. Makes a nice diving catch. Retires Suzuki with out number 1.
And that'll bring up Kenny Vargas, who drove in a run with a hit back in the 3rd inning. They doubled him up in the 5th. Out of play to the right. Good breaking ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count on Vargas.
Well, that sets it up much better for Hagedorn when you can throw that breaking ball for a strike.
Popped up down the line. Fair ball. And Vargas has a bloop single with 1 out here in the 7th. Well, Paul Molitor in his first year with the Minnesota Twins is maybe being looked at as something of a miracle worker with the way that his club is playing so far this year. Andre Nada has more on the Twin skipper.
You know, it's funny. Tito Francona was a teammate of Paul Molitor's back in the day, and he said he was at the quickest hands. You guys were talking about quick hands. He said he had the quickest hands any teammate he ever had. And he said in one year he was going real well, and they were going against Brett Saberhagen in the first inning. He struck out in 3 fastballs in a row. He came back in the dugout and he looked at everybody and goes, good luck, guys. Saberhagen went on with a 1-hitter that day. But he just talked about having that type of deposition is probably helping this Twins team right now. And it seems like it. They're playing a loose game and a fun game right now on that Twins side of things.
Yeah, you say Saberhagen had the 1-hitter, and I bet he was the one that had the hit, too. He did have quick hands. He'd pick a lot of pitches or balls out of the catcher's glove at times because he used the whole field. But he was with that team the last couple of years on the bench and with them as they were going through everything. It was Ron Gardenhire who he replaced that had been here, 12 years?
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this. Molitor was a bench coach under Ron Gardenhire, under Tom Kelly in 2000 and then in 01. And then Gardenhire came along after that, and, the Twins had a nice resurgence as that ball's hammered to left field, a base hit by Escobar. So back-to-back hits here in the 7th inning for Minnesota. But I'm just not sure Molitor was ready to just jump full boat and commit to maybe You know, a few years later, he went to Seattle. He was a Mariners hitting coach in 2004. You know, he was a special assistant in 2002. I think he bounced around a little bit. He was a minor league coordinator from 2005 to 2013.
Yeah, he was in the organization. He'd always go to spring training. I don't think he was really ready to commit to baseball for that 6-month or 7-month period where you're gone all the time.
Well, when you play 20 years, it's
he
hard,
played 20 years, and you know he has some kids that are still relatively young that he didn't want to be away from, early while they were growing up. So he said it was time. I mean, we watched him. We used to go to Minnesota. He had the season tickets right down in front of us.
Yeah, right in front of us. Yeah.
Not that he'd come every day, but he had seats there. Still has them.
Eddie Rosario, 2 for 3, couple of hits, pops it up. And Moss got a bad break on it, but Bourne saves the day, makes the catch. 2 down. Here's the other thing about Paul Molitor, Rick. When we mention this all the time about, now granted, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a special player, and there aren't many like him, as we talked about trying to compare guys before. But he went to college, played 3 years at Minnesota, spent 64 games. One summer he played minor league baseball. The rest of his career was in the big leagues.
I remember when he came up and came up as a second baseman. And then one year, I think it was 1978, where Robin Yount, took off. He ended up moving over to shortstop.
Well, that was his rookie year, was 78.
Okay.
He began as a shortstop and moved to second base when Robin Yount came back from an injury.
Right.
So, I mean, but that's amazing when you think about it. He spent one summer playing minor league baseball and the rest of his 20-plus year career, 21 I think total, in the big leagues.
Yep. Well, he was a good player, and he missed, I'd say, about 3 years of games because he was on the DL. He still had 3,319 hits.
Yeah, in 84 he only played 13 games. And then there was
87. He played 118, 103, and 90.
Yeah.
So over the course of his year, he was injured a lot, but he played the game hard.
Strike called on the outside corner, 1-2 for Schaefer.
This was where Minnesota's been at its best with 2 strikes, 2 outs, driving in runs today.
When Molitor got his 3,000th career hit, he was the first guy, maybe still the only one, to do it on a triple.
I missed what you said there. I'm sorry.
Molitor, when he got his 3,000th hit, I think he's still the only one to do it on a triple.
I think you're right.
I know he was the first. There's a line drive base hit right field. Big Vargas coming around third. He's going to be stopped. As Moss got off a good throw and the bases are loaded.
5 for 7 now for Minnesota with 2 outs. Runners in scoring position. They had them right where they wanted them. That's the way it's gone today. Hagedorn back in. 3 more hits today.
Brian Shaw now getting loose. With the bases loaded and 2 out.
They have 5 guys with multi-hit games today, and a couple of them with 3 hits.
Well, they banged out 16 hits today after
13 yesterday.
13 yesterday.
On the year, Minnesota now in 2-out situations with runners in scoring position, 3-12. That's unbelievable.
Well, a couple of days ago, remember, at home they beat Oakland 13-0, so they had to have double digits in hits in that game. I mean, they are just as locked in as you can get. 2-0 pitch. Right back up the middle. Kipnis backhands it, goes to first. Got him. That'll end the inning. Twins leave him loaded. Time for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Well, Phil Hughes has had a walk in the park so far today. The Indians have only really challenged him once, and that was in the 6th. They got him for a run. And the offense for Minnesota has given him all that he's needed. Nick Swisher, he is 2 for 2 today. And quickly, the count 0-2. Left field near the line. Swisher's got himself a 3 for 3 day. And he's going to pick up his first extra base hit on the year as he strolls into second with a leadoff double. So he's led off twice with base hits. And he's starting to find his swing a little bit here now.
Well, he hit that first one right back up the middle on the ground. Got in on him a little bit, but he muscled it into center field for a base hit, and he was down in the count 0-2 here and gets himself a fastball. That's a 7th hit for the Indians, the first extra base hit today. So they get their leadoff double.
You know, Michael Bourne takes inside ball 1. Bourne yanks it into right field. That's a base hit. Swisher's coming around third. He'll be waved home. He will score. And Bourne goes sliding into second with an RBI double. Back-to-back doubles for the Indians here in the 7th. And it's now a 7-2 ball game. Bourne's 5th double of the year, his 7th run batted in.
Well, between Swisher and Bourne, they have 5 of the 8 hits. So he pulls that one down the line. They make it a 7-2 ball game. Well, the first two guys reach in this inning. David Murphy coming up now for Perez.
Roberto Perez was 0 for 2. And a strike is called. Let's go on to Andre. Michael Bourne swinging the bat well today with a couple of hits. Is he taking to the bottom part of the order any better?
Slowly but surely he is. You know, when we were in Detroit and he was taking out a leadoff spot, he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to be back as a leadoff hitter of this team this year. After about a week of seeing Kip as a leadoff hitter, he goes, look, he told me a couple days ago, he goes, I'm going to just worry about Michael Bourne. He goes, I'm not going to worry about where I'm hitting from now on.
David Murphy sends one high and deep and gone. Showing signs of life here in the 7th. The Indians have scored 3 times to close the gap to 7-4. David Murphy with a 2-run homer. Murphy as a pinch hitter, his second hit of the year, and 2 home runs out of the pinch hit spot.
Yeah, he got one out over the plate to his liking. And this is the inning that the Indians have had a tough time at home, is that 7th inning. But today, first 3 guys reach. They come around to score. They make it a 7-4 ball game. Hughes bending over. He can't believe it. Out comes the pitching coach. Neil Allen wants to slow things down. They'll get their bullpen up and going. That's the 9th home run given up by Hughes already this year.
Well, it comes here in the 7th inning and gives the Indians at least some hope because there's still nobody out. And now it's a 3-run game. And we're going to get another pinch hitter. Jose Ramirez will be replaced by Zach Walters. And Hughes delivers. Walters had a wicked cut. Fouls it back. Second at bat for Walters since he got the call up. He was activated when the Indians had to put Mike Aviles on the emergency family medical list. Walters came over to the Indians from the Washington Nationals last year at the trading deadline for Asdrubal Cabrera. Two balls and a strike. Suffered that oblique strain in spring training that set him back, put him on the DL. 2-2.
Boy, the Indians the 3rd time through this lineup, 6 for 8.
Tell you what, Zach's had a couple of really good swings in this at bat, but unfortunately, he's fouled them both back. Now the 2-2. And he strikes him out. One away. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with AYSO, the world's largest soccer club. Go to ayso.org/play to find your region and sign up for your fall team today. Now Jason Kipnis 1 for 3, singled and scored in the 6th. Takes outside, it's ball 1. Now the 1-1 to Kipnis. Right back up the middle, and that's into center field. And that might be it for Phil Hughes. We'll see what Paul Molitor decides. Kipnis with his second hit of the afternoon.
Yeah, he's anxious. He's coming out. He gave him as much time as he could to try and get through this 7th inning, but he could not do it. They had a good round that 3rd time through the lineup. They're starting the 4th time, and Kipnis gets his 2nd straight hit. And Molitor has seen enough. It's time to go to that bullpen.
All of a sudden, the Indians have piled up 10 hits in the ball game, and they're clawing their way back in it. Began in the 7th. Nick Swisher started with his 3rd hit of the day, a double down the left field line. Michael Bourne followed with a double to right field to plate Swisher. Next man up, David Murphy, comes off the bench. 2nd pinch hit, home run of the year, a 2-run smash. 3 runs in.
And, you know, you look at it right here, and they're back in the ball game here, 7-4. You've got Kipnis on first base. You've got Brian Dunsing coming in to pitch now for the 10th time. The left-hander was on the DL when we went to Minnesota the first time.
Santana takes ball 1. First time in Dunsing's career he spent time on the disabled list. Pops him up right on the infield. 2 down. Well, that'll leave it up to Michael Brantley once again. Brantley 1 for 3 today. An RBI single in the 6th. Chases one. One of the rare swings and misses from Brantley this year. Dunsing has had.
Boy, he has had his
number.
way. Not many people have done that to Michael Brantley.
Kipnis takes off. Ball's in the dirt. Goes to the backstop. And Kipnis will stay right there at second base. He's in scoring position now. He'll get a stolen base because he was off.
Well, he picked the right pitch to run on. It's a breaking ball. You figure down in the count 0-1, they're going to throw Michael a breaking ball. And it looked like Suzuki went with the backhand out in front instead of just trying to knock it down. He tried to pick it and throw it, but it goes as a stolen base anyway for Kipnis, his third. Base hit now, cuts into it, makes it a 7-5 game.
In the dirt again. 2-1.
Yeah. The umpire one-hopped him. Doug Eddings going to get him a cutoff man for the next throw. Look at he's taking abuse over there from some of his guys.
Two balls and a strike. 2 down in the 7th. Missed inside. 3-1. Brandon Moss would be next.
Yeah. Here we go. Watch the throw. Cutoff man.
Boy, halfway there.
My fault. My bad.
Here's a 3-1 to Brantley. And now a full count. If Moss gets to the plate, he'd be the tying run here in this inning. The 3-2. Ball 4. And Moss will indeed get a chance. With 2 on and 2 out. And he is 1 for 7 in the series. Paul Molitor going to his pitching coach, Neil Allen. He wanted somebody else up in that bullpen,
yes,
it sounds
he does.
like.
Somebody else. Get somebody else up.
He got the right-hander Presley up.
Dunsing was the guy. He wanted to get Brantley out, and he ended up walking him with his good numbers that he has had in his career. One swing, and we got a tie game. One real good swing.
He drops it over the inside corner for a strike. And he goes to the outside corner for strike 2. So Dunsing has made back-to-back quality pitches to get ahead.
Yeah, breaking ball started inside, then goes outside with a fastball down and away. And I know Moss didn't like it.
And now the 0-2. In the dirt.
Trying to get him to expand his strike zone. He did not. It's a nice pick there by Suzuki.
Kipnis is at second base. Brantley's at first. And the dirt again. 2-2. Well, now Moss knows he's got to come back to him. Dunsing ready. And the 2-2. Went back inside, but off the plate with a breaking ball, and now the count is full. The runners will be off.
Well, this is something the fans finally have an opportunity to get up and make some noise.
Now the Indians showing some life here. First in the 6th, now with 3 home in the 7th. Looking for more. Runners go on the payoff pitch to Moss. checked his swing and over by the Indians dugout.
Comes with a fastball. It's down. And just too close to take. Can't take that pitch with 2 strikes, so he gets a piece of it. Live for another pitch.
Kipnis and Brantley will be rolling. Again, the 3-2. And a foul back.
Now Suzuki wants to talk to him. He's gone fastball. He was barely stayed alive. He went breaking ball there that he fouls off. Now they're going to talk about how do you want to do it. Let's go. We got to make a pitch right here and try and end it. You got Chisenhall on deck. And he's had the battle. He was down in the count 0-2, if you remember.
Yep.
So 7 pitches since. He's hanging in there.
Third straight time, a 3-2 pitch. And another foul by Moss. He check swing, fouled one off to the Indians dugout, pulled one foul the other side. This one he hit himself with. Third time was not the charm. Will the fourth one bring the Indians a little bit closer in this game? Minnesota 3 on the right side of the infield. Shift on. Hunter deep and right. Kipnis takes off. He goes to third uncontested.
They don't care about that.
Dunsing has to step off. He was a little unnerved by it.
Well, he knew something was going on, wasn't paying attention. The players are back. They're worried about the hitter here. And they're way off the line at third base. So Kipnis just saw daylight, so he takes off. Maybe you get a balk. He didn't. He stepped off, but
fourth time, a 3-2 pitch. And a foul back by Moss on that blistering fastball by Dunsing.
Well,
he's coming in 81 with a breaking ball, and then he goes up to 93 with a heater.
Yeah, but he had a good swing at this one. That swing right there, he had a very good hack at. I'd be surprised if he comes back with another heater. He was right on that one.
Michael Brantley is getting his work in. He's about to be off for the 5th consecutive pitch. Ball 4, the bases are loaded. And the 9th man to bat in the inning will be Lonnie Chisenhall. What an at-bat for Brandon Moss.
That really was. That was a terrific at-bat.
Fought him tooth and nail, fouled off 4 straight, and then draws the walk. And now Paul Molitor's coming out. Is he going to make a change here?
Looks like they got another left-hander going. Yes, sir.
He is. He's going to go to yet another southpaw out of that bullpen. It's not Glenn Perkins, the closer. It's Aaron Thompson who will get the call. Timeout. High drama now here at Progressive Field. Bases loaded and 2 out, and the Indians down 3.
Brandon Moss, what an at-bat this was. He fell behind a breaking ball and then a good fastball away. And then watch Dunsing try to get him to expand his zone and swing. Ended up being a 10-pitch at bat. And then he fouled 4 straight pitches off to stay alive. There's a good fastball away, a breaking ball. Comes back with another fastball. He has a good swing at this one here. Then he goes with the breaking ball and walked him to put the bases loaded, and I mean that kept it going. That is a really good at bat.
Lonnie Chisenhall takes ball 1, facing Aaron Thompson now, who comes on in relief of Dunsing. You don't see many lefties relieve lefties, but that was the case for Paul Molitor. He just didn't feel like Dunsing had it after he walked back-to-back hitters. And that one catches the corner for a strike to even it up.
Thompson has pitched 4 innings against the Indians in that first trip to Minnesota. He's given up 1 hit in the 4 innings that he has pitched. He pitched well against him in Minnesota.
The 1-1. Chased one down. Chisenhall 0 for 3 today, 1 out of 7 in the series. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Indians down 3. Popped him up. Out goes Dozier. And the second baseman gives way to Schaefer. And the center fielder barely grabs it to end the inning. Well, the Tribe has come back to make a game of it. But boy, they leave them loaded. And after 7, it's now 7-4 Minnesota. Without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. 7-4 ball game now as we go to the 8th inning. New pitcher is Brian Shaw, making his 16th appearance of the year. He's got the top of the order for Minnesota coming up. Defensively now, Zach Walters stays in the game. He's at shortstop. And Brett Hayes is now behind the plate. And that leaves the Indians with Ryan Rayburn on the bench. Brian Dozier to lead it off here. 2 for 4, a double and a homer. Outside corner, a strike is called. Evens it up.
Dozier would look like to end that inning. He was going after that ball and calling for it, but he must have heard Schaefer, and he was lucky to catch that ball. Dead run coming in.
The 2-1. Low. And Shaw walks the leadoff man.
I thought when Dozier was going out, he was going to catch it. He was looking like he had it, and then all of a sudden, watch him peel out. He hears Schaefer coming in, and boy, oh boy, that was close.
Wind's blowing in from center, and it was pushing it back toward the infield.
Sometimes when you push your glove down like that, you can push it out of the way, too. It's just starting to pick up a little bit.
Torrey Hunter, the batter, 3 for 4 on the day. Reached on an error his last time up. Shaw can't throw a strike. 5 out of 6 have missed the zone. That one's in there to even it up. Runner goes, and Hunter chops it to third slowly. Chisenhall has to hurry, and he gets Hunter by a step at first.
Looked like Dozier had a pretty good jump there.
Get inside the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon tomorrow night. He'll talk about this weekend's Players Championship. Give you more tips to improve your game. The golf zone tees off tomorrow night at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. About 25 guys could win that Players Championship at last check of the leaderboard.
It'll be an exciting day tomorrow down there.
Joe Mauer, 2 hits today, a single, a double, and a run scored. Shaw gets ahead with a strike. To left field. Brantley got a good break, comes in, makes the catch. Throws back to second, but Dozier was able to beat the throw. 2 down. And so with 2 away, Kurt Suzuki's coming to the plate, 1 for 3 on the day. Reds lead the White Sox in Chicago 3-1. They're in the 8th inning. Part of a doubleheader between Cincinnati and Chicago. Royals won earlier today. They beat the Tigers, so those two will flip-flop again at the top of the Central Division standings. Off the glove of Shaw. Be a tough play for Kipnis. Barehand grab and throw, and he got him. Well done by Indian second baseman Jason Kipnis off the deflection by Shaw. And an all-important goose egg put up by Shaw. Indians coming back to bat. 7-4 Minnesota. 7-4 Minnesota. Bottom of the 8th inning. You want some good news? So far this year, the Indians have outscored their opponents 9-0 in the 8th inning. At home.
Be better if they can add to that 9.
Nick Swisher is a perfect 3 for 3. Doubled to lead off the 7th. He's leading off again here in the 8th. Up high, ball 1. Took a little something off. That's in for a strike, and the count evens up. Bounce to third. It eats up Escobar, and Swisher's got his 4th hit of the day. Fifth time in his career he's had a 4-hit afternoon.
Well, you're going to see Escobar. It's going to go over to his left, and that ball hits, stays down, gets under his glove. Once you've got to retreat as a third baseman, it's awfully tough to catch it.
Well, Rick, as we promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Swisher led off the 7th with a double, then Bourne doubled. Then David Murphy with a pinch hit homer. And the Indians were right back in the game. Now they got to try to do it again here in the 8th. Here's Michael Bourne. 2 hits today. 3 hits over the last 2 games. Up high, Ryan Rayburn has moved to the on-deck circle to pinch hit for David Murphy. Or no, I'm sorry, it's Brett Hayes. Swung on and missed. Thompson's 1-2, and Bourne strikes out. 1 away. Now Brett Hayes gets his first at bat after Murphy pinch hit for Perez, and then Hayes went into the game defensively. Thompson deals. And it's outside, ball 1. Brett Hayes, 4 for 24 on the year. 2 of his 4 hits have been home runs. One to count. That's down low. Now the 2-1 is fouled away. Indians were down 7-0. They've scored 4 to get within striking distance. Another base runner to get the tying run to the plate. Hayes pops it to left. A few steps back, Rosario makes the catch. 2 down.
I'll bet if you ask Brett Hayes, he'd love to have another swing at that pitch. He had one he could handle and just got underneath it. You're going to get the pitch. It's a breaking ball. It stays up in the zone. And boy, he stayed back on it. And it's frustrating when you're a hitter, but that goes to show you how tough you have a little conversation with yourself as you're running down.
Here's Zach Walters now. Swung on and missed. Walters struck out his first time up. And he swings and misses again. Eighteen pitches for Aaron Thompson. 13 of them have been strikes. Now the 0-2.
See if he stays right down there.
Just foul, third base side.
That's the one I figured you got to go back down in the dirt, don't you? He just swung it 2 down there.
Well, that's from what we've already seen from Zach Walters. He's going to swing and miss. But, boy, if he makes contact, he can hit it a long way. So, yeah, I'm with you. If you're Thompson,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That he could get the bat on.
I wouldn't think so. There you go. You throw one upstairs, take it off that pitch down. He helped you the first 2 pitches, so now you go high fastball, which he did. Just to change that eye level. Will he go back downstairs with the breaking ball? He left one up for Brett Hayes.
Strikes him out, ends the inning. No runs ahead, a man left. We'll go to the ninth, 7-4 Minnesota. Bruce Chen unable to get deep into the ball game as Minnesota pounded him for 10 hits, 6 runs in his 4+ innings of work. And the Indians were not able to play from in front. They managed just 2 hits through the first 4 innings of the game and were shut out until an RBI hit by Michael Brantley in the 6th. Scott Atchison coming on to pitch now. in the ninth. He is the 6th different Indians pitcher to work in the game. Kenny Vargas, 2 hits, an RBI, and a run scored. Leads it off for Minnesota. And Atchison with a fastball strike.
Yeah.
Took a little something off, and Vargas swung right over the top. 0-2. Little squibber back to the mound. 1 down.
Well, Minnesota did a good job today with 2 outs. They ended up having 4 0-2 hits today, and it was Escobar and Rosario who did it. And those guys, you know, they just kept it going. They've been able to add on, and that's something that they've done very well throughout the year. Second best team in baseball, hitting with runners in scoring position and 2 outs.
Those were the 4 hits that came on 0-2 pitches. They had 2 more hits down 0-2 that they eventually got hits in the count.
Later in the count.
In the at-bat. So, I mean, it's good for Minnesota. I mean, hey, it's easy to sit here and say, oh, you can't give up an 0-2 hit. Sometimes you do have to give credit to the guy in the box, too.
Well, as hot as they've been offensively, that's what I was thinking. Are they that good? Are they going that good right now? It certainly seems like in the first 2 games of this series, when they had 13 hits yesterday, 16 today, 29 hits in the first 2 games, you got to say, yeah, it's pretty good.
The 2-2.
Sometimes you can't get 29 hits in 2 days of batting practice.
Atchison with a 2-2. Swung on and missed. He strikes him out, 2 down. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next. Eddie Rosario, 2 for 4 today, and now 3 for 8 in the series. Leans back, ball 1. To short. Zach Walters has it. Throws him out. 1-2-3 go the Twins. We go to the bottom of the 9th. 7-4 Minnesota. Seven-4 Minnesota, bottom of the 9th. And the third straight left-handed reliever out of the bullpen for Minnesota is their closer, Glenn Perkins.
10 for 10 in save situations. This is a save. Down 3 runs. There's the hitters he will face. Kipnis 1 for 6. Santana 6 for 10 with 3 long balls. So get a base runner. Michael Brantley 2 for 10.
Kipnis, Santana, and Brantley. Here we go. Minnesota winners 8 of their last 9 games. Stormed out to a 7-0 lead, and now they're trying to hold off the Indians in the 9th. Tribe got 1 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th. And it's ball 1 up high. To left field, and that's going to drop a base hit. Jason Kipnis, 3 consecutive hits in the ball game. So the Indians' comeback surge began with Kipnis leading off the 6th inning. And now he's got his 3rd straight knock of the afternoon.
Yeah, he picked on a pitch away, and he's just stayed with it. He took exactly what the pitcher was going to give him there. Nice job of hitting. Get it started again. 3 straight singles now for Kipnis. That's 12 hits now for the Tribe.
Now Carlos Santana to the plate. Santana just 3 for 17 since moving into the number 2 spot in the order. 0 for 4 here today. A foul right back.
Looked like he almost wanted to break that bat on his shoe after missing it because he fouled it straight back.
Little peek of the sun behind a cloud as it sets off in the west. Santana plugs one toward left field. Rosario's there, makes the catch, 1 away. It's going to bring up Michael Brantley. He's 1 for 3. Drove in a run back in the 6th inning. Walked his last time up. Everything is magnified when you're on the short end, but you look at Brantley when he was thrown out at home back in the 6th inning. Just a slow developing play.
Yeah, they just gotten on the board with their 1 run, and he was thrown out at the dish.
By plenty. Base hit right field. Tying run will come to the plate as Kipnis heads to 3rd.
Well, that brings the tying run to the plate. Very good. Runners at the corners and 1 out. Moss will have an opportunity again. And back in the 7th, he had a tremendous at bat with a couple of guys on. Brantley gets a fastball up, pulls it in the hole.
Kind of odd. These two have never faced each other as far as we can tell. Brandon Moss meet Glenn Perkins. No throw. Brantley steals 2nd.
Yeah, they were behind him. So were they holding him on there?
You know what? I thought he was behind him, but when Santana moved in to take a throw, no steal. Okay. 0-1 pitch. One ball, 1 strike. what looked to be a laugher
Yes.
has turned into a white knuckler for Paul Molitor and company.
No kidding. It sure has.
1-1 to Moss. Boy, he's got a wicked ability to change speeds. I mean, that was 82, and then he can run that fastball up there to mid-90s. So far this year, he is a perfect 10 out of 10 in save situations. Moss and the Indians trying to change that here in the bottom of the ninth. And he punches him out on a high fastball. 2 down. And so for the second time today, it's going to leave it up to Lonnie Chisenhall. No, we're going to get a pinch hitter as Ryan Rayburn will move to the on-deck circle.
Let's look at the sequence. Strike one, he gets strike two on the first fastball, then a breaking ball, and then a heater away. Boy, he didn't mess around that time. He just dotted the I on the outside corner. So they're going to go out. You're going to get a pinch hitter now for Chisenhall. The last guy on the bench for Terry Francona is going to be Ryan Rayburn.
All right, Rayburn this year as a pinch hitter is 2 for 7 with 4 runs batted in. And as we know, for Rayburn this year, most of his damage against left-handers. He's batting .425 against lefties. Ball 1, low and away. The 1-0. Popped him up. Out goes Dozier and makes the catch to end the game. I'll give the Indians credit for fighting back and making a game of it. But once again, they fall woefully short as the Twins win it by a final score of 7-4, sending the Tribe to 10-19 on the year, 4-10 here at home. Minnesota has won 9 out of their last 10 games, and they are 5 games over the break-even mark at 18-13. Phil Hughes gets the win. He's 2-4. The save to Glenn Perkins, his 11th. Losing pitcher is Bruce Chen in his Indians debut. He's 0-1. And simply a case of too much Twins here today.
Too much too early.
Yeah.
Is what the case is. How many times are you going to come back from a 7-0 deficit and try and win a ball game? I give them credit. They came in and battled that 6th inning on. They had a really good opportunity in the 7th, and they couldn't cash it in. They did get 3, and they had that opportunity there, bringing the tying run to the plate. Just, it's just a hard thing to do.
Time now for the Pat O'Brien play of the game.
Well, it's the last out in that 7th inning. We're talking about bases loaded. You can see Schaefer calling him off, man, and he's on the dead run. He makes that catch about knee high on the dead run, and he better catch it cleanly. And they get out of that inning.
All right, so that wraps it up. 7-4 is the final score. Series finale comes your way tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll be here to have it for you. Stay tuned for Indians Live next.